Not tardy today. Bang on. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you might be in the world. We are allegedly live. Bruce, Louis, and honoured to have Tom Stanton, and we can gesticulate at him because he's using his rear-facing camera because he can't see what we're doing to him. So gesticulate away, gentlemen. Good evening, or good afternoon, and good morning to you.
Hello, Larry. Thanks for having us or having me.
So, well, that could be lost in translation, couldn't it? Right, where should we start? Tom, I've been trying to get you on for ages. I love what you're doing on your channel, and you can't see what I'm going to hold up one of those Hobby King. I've had the Hobby King parafoil things for 2 years now, trying to do what you did. It's because I am useless at getting projects done. So I was super impressed with the paraglider, your bicycle projects. Oh, I can't think of the others now. Oh, now you're doing the Chinook thing. That looks a bit, I don't know. Are you able to reveal any more about the Chinook? You can start with that.
Yeah, well, it's not really a new idea. It's basically just a bicopter dressed up as a Chinook. I just thought it'd be quite fun to experiment with. I've always, well, I used to fly 3D helicopters, and it was always a nightmare when you crash it. It costs, ridiculous amount of money. So I kind of wanted to, I guess you could call it a fixed pitch helicopter. Yeah, I don't know. I just think it's quite a nice idea that if I crash it, it's, I just break a propeller, hopefully. So if it flies as good as a helicopter, it could be quite good fun. Yeah.
Yeah. And you're making quite a hard thing look easy, which is a difficult thing to do. Has it actually flown? Are you allowed to tell us that? Is that for your Patreon viewers only?
It has flown, yeah. It has. It's interesting. It does actually fly quite nice. There are some gyroscopic issues I'm trying to work out with different weighted propellers. But yeah, it's not really any kind of new aircraft. It's just a basic bicopter, just dressed up. So yeah.
No, it's very good. Now the paraglider, that is files available for your Patreon supporters. Maybe something we could delve into is money and stuff like that, because I know, Bruce, you've got opinions on things like that. But how long did that, obviously your video sort of shrinks time, doesn't it? How long did it take you to perfect that?
I filmed that whole paramotor video in about 4 days, from when the Hobby King parcel arrived, basically. It took about a day to design the paramotor part, the motor section with all the the arms and whatever. That took about a day. Then another day of printing and assembling, and then the day when I went to test fly it, I showed a few shots of it in the morning when it was nice and sunny, and I was actually in the field for about 5 hours that day trying to get it working. Which I didn't show in the video, but it was an absolute nightmare to get it to work. So yeah, I obviously cut all those bits out. I didn't even record them because the camera battery would have long gone by then. So it was pretty satisfying to get it to work. Yeah.
Fair play to you. Fair play. And are you getting back and forth to the University of Hertfordshire in forgotten where it is now? Are you getting back and forth in Hatfield on your electric bike now?
I actually finished university last May. I know I still wear the hoodie, but
okay.
Yeah, I've graduated now, so.
But still riding the bicycle?
Yeah. I ride the bike a lot. Yeah, I mean, not so much now in the winter. I maybe go like once a week.
Yeah, it's quite
out in the cold weather.
Kind of oxymoron saying that you ride the bicycle, and if it's a self-powered bicycle, so.
Yeah. The difference between the electric bike and a regular bike is I come home freezing cold instead of sweating. So yeah.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So what are you, if it's not a rude question, what are you doing with your time now? Is YouTube your thing now then?
Trying to. Yeah. I mean, when I left uni, my parents essentially gave me a year of living at home. until I have to get a real job, I guess. So instead of going traveling and stuff like some of my mates did, I just thought try and make something out of this.
Perfect.
So yeah, I'm
You're
trying
doing
to push it.
you're doing a cracking job. I'm super impressed with all your projects. I really am. It's a cracking job, and you deserve to do well.
Yeah, but
Bruce,
as
come
Bruce
on,
knows, it's not easy.
Well, now Bruce is the expert at making easy things look hard, isn't he?
Damn, push the button.
Well,
Yes.
yeah, Jamie Bignell's here.
Technical issues.
Yeah, there you are. You see, I told you, he's the expert.
All I had to do was push the button.
Yeah.
But yeah, actually, it's a very difficult time to make money with YouTube because of all the changes and the stuffing around they're doing. So if you're succeeding, then hats off to you.
Yeah, it's going all right. It's I mean, for me, it's the most money I've ever earned. I've only ever worked in a model helicopter shop in the past, but it's just trying to make it, a proper living. It's quite hard. So.
And
yeah.
do you still fly the regular 3D helicopters?
I don't know. I have it sitting on my shelf, gathering dust. It's this. I can't justify the cost of the batteries for it. They're like £100 per set, really. So no, I just look at it.
You'll get there. So what's in the? So have you planned out your year then? Your year of living dangerously. Have you planned out exactly what your projects might be, or is it just going to be things that take your fancy as they come along?
I do have a big list of projects, but things just pop out of the blue. Like the paramotor, I can't remember what it was. I think one of my friends started doing full-size paramotoring. So I just thought try that, just a quick video to mess around with, and they got quite a bit of attention. So yeah, I have a list of stuff, and stuff gets dumped around of what I'm going to do next, and just whatever I'm interested in at the time. So
one of my other little nerdy hobbies that I'm into is near space ballooning, and we just send up toy balloons and have them pop very high. And I know that the blokes in that are very they're all trying to make guided parachutes. So you've made just the thing for them. So maybe you should get in touch with them and have a go at that. And they meet up at Cambridge and all sorts of things, because obviously when from the UK, when stuff goes out to the North Sea, then that's not so good. And for us, stuff tends to go straight out to the east of Durban, which is also not so good. So
North Sea now, what they find is my day job is lots of wind turbines scattered all over the North Sea. They have lots of wind turbine parks in the middle of the North Sea.
Well, they might have one of the balloons from the guys that launched in the UK draped all over that wind turbine when you do one of your inspections soon. So yeah, it's it's a great thing. That who's got a packet of crisps? Someone's got a packet of crisps. Right.
It's you.
What should we move on to? Let's move on to what we've seen in the news. We'll come back to Tom in a second. Mavic Air, haven't we?
Oh, let's leave it for last.
Leave it for last? Why have we got to leave it for last?
Yeah, because then the time will run out and we won't have much time to nag about it.
You don't want to talk about it? You don't like it then?
No, it's a great model. And we were discussing before the podcast started the current lineup of DJI. Where does that fit? And what other existing models will that kill? It's something that I don't know. They have the Trello, they have the Spark, they have this one Mavic Air, they have the regular Mavic, they have the Phantom Force, the Phantom 4 Pros, the Inspires, the Matrix 600, Matrix 200. And then you go to let's not go to the industrial line with the Winds and the Agras, but on the consumer/prosumer side, their lineup is quite comprehensive. So there's
Louis, you are a catalogue of DJI products. How do you memorize all that, man?
I have their webpage. I have their webpage open right by your side, with the arrows saying, "Tell this to Bruce." Come on, it's quite easy. The thing is, they have some marketing studies that we don't know to launch this, and it appears that every time they're not so, and even more, they're not already a drone company. They're a flying camera company.
Yes. I mean, that must be, that's fair comment. Don't you think they're going to start culling some of the range now? And are they not moving the consumer side of things to sub 1 kilo, sub 500 grams even? They're moving that down. I think they're going to kill the Phantom range, and because if you think about it, I didn't mean to put it quite like that, but if you think about it, the Phantom is at the heart of a lot of bad news story images, and if you tend to put a drone bad news story up, it tends to be an image of a Phantom. So if they start losing that, if the white cross disappears from their catalog, they'll be moving themselves away from that image a little bit. But also, what's the point? This new thing seems to exactly cover what pretty much all the Phantom can do, all Phantom range up to the Phantom 4 Pro. And yeah, I don't. Is there going to be a Phantom 5? I'm waffling. Anyone want to pick that ball up? Oh, I muted you, by the way, Tom, for the second, because it was your crisps that we could hear. So, I don't know, can I unmute you? I can't. Oh well, it's do sign language. Anyway, anyone want to pick up that ball?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see, because the Phantom 4 or the Phantom design has some deficiencies. At certain lighting angles, the propellers cause a lot of flickering in the image, and if at high angles of attack, then the landing gear can come into shot. It's not the best platform for a camera. The Mavic is far better, because you virtually cannot get any part of the Mavic airframe into shot when you're filming. So I think, yeah, that they probably will shift or at least downplay the Phantom and bring new models. And interesting to note, all the new models are coming in at as you say, at the bottom end, low weight, small size. And I think this trouble is this 250 gram thing is just too hard to fit a really good camera platform into. I wouldn't be surprised if we see DJI starting to try and lobby for a sub 1 kg category rather than a sub 250.
They did. They did. They lobbied for 1 kg. Yeah.
But Bruce, they're not only having on the sub $1,000 market. They just recently launched the big industrial line with the DJI Wind 2 for whatever the names, but DJI Wind lineup, and those are expensive industrial drones. So I think they're coming up from both ends.
That's a completely different market, though, isn't it? That's a commercial industrial drone. I was talking more about the consumer product, the camera platform for the amateur.
Do we call an Inspire? I'm not sure if they still sell the Inspire 1, but for the cost of the Inspire 2, is it a consumer drone?
It's prosumer.
Prosumer. Prosumer.
Yeah, it's the grey area between human and professional.
Yeah, and look, the Honourable Mr. Neistat said today that in his review of the Mavic Air, that the average eye won't notice a difference between the video footage out of that and a big expensive broadcast rig. And he's right, because the average clip's going to be 3 or 4 seconds, isn't it? And it's going to be part of a story. So for a lot of purposes, do we need these super big expensive things?
4K 100 megabits per second recording, or full HD 120 frames per second. Wow. It's now we don't look at the performance of the drone. We are just looking at the performance of the camera, and I believe we are beginning to see the effects of having acquired Hasselblad. I think these are perhaps the first time that I see something coming up. But even from the drone side, and let's forget about the picture side, that decision making on collision avoidance and the drone keeping up with that is very nice to know they've managed that. And we know what they're using. They're probably using that Movidius chip by Intel.
They are.
And it's nice to see that they're putting that chip to good use.
Yeah. No, it's a heck of a machine, isn't it? From 5 years ago, even or 10 years ago. It's a heck of a machine.
Even from 1 year ago. If you look at it, from 1 year ago, they constantly raise the bar. So no wonder that GoPro dropped the Karma and is trying to sell out before they're worth nothing. One of the latest.
Too late, I think.
What?
Too late, I think.
I don't know. There's still some. Remember that someone bought the Lily drone? So
sure,
someone can come up and buy the GoPro brand, because even their GoPros are nothing to write home about.
You can buy needles and stab them in your eyes, but it doesn't mean it's a good idea.
Buy Bruce's needles at http://stabyoureyesOut.com. How long have you been selling those for, Bruce?
No, it's a special one-time deal. One-time
deal only. What's Jamie's singers think it's interesting. The Phantom is more similar to something like a Blade 350. Now the Mavic and Spark are more geared towards people who aren't into RC. Yeah, I don't think they were ever. None of them were ever geared for people that were into RC. I don't really think.
Yes, DJI has been very, very careful too to stay away from the racing drone market, because I don't think they see that the flying as their market. They see the camera work, and there's racing drones are a big thing, but DJI has deliberately left them out of their product lineup, I think.
Yeah, but Bruce, I believe I saw a few months ago that DJI have launched some specially crafted motors and propellers for the racers. I haven't seen them much around. Do you have any information about that?
I think I suspect they were putting their toes in the market to see what the response would be, and the response has been crickets chirping.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I love the name. The name was Snail, wasn't it? It was the Snail motor set.
Snail.
Yeah, that was fantastic. I mean, if that wasn't a dig, and people should
leading from behind.
Yeah. Exactly. Tom, you're from the FPV racing world. If you can unmute yourself now that I've muted you. Is it like watching paint dry, FPV racing? Should DJI get into it? No, he can't unmute himself. You might have to do it on your screen. You just turn your camera around, but you can see what's on your desk.
He's immutable. Cannot be changed. Immutable.
What's he got
that
there?
Looks nice. Hey, we could print his place for a feed, I think.
What was that? Yeah, he had some food there, didn't he?
Is that better?
Oh, there we go. There we are. I can hear him.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. It just sounds like you got a packet of crisps. I don't know. Have you got a microphone on your
Does it still sound bad?
It's okay, but we can let you answer now, and we'll see how it works.
Is that okay?
Yeah, it'll do. It'll do. We'll put up with it for words from you. But racing drones, come on! I saw you at Farnborough. You were at Farnborough when they had the wonderful cage there in 2010. Is it going to be there this year? Yeah, this year.
I don't know. I'm not really into the drone racing anymore. I've kind of moved away from it. But from what I saw when I was in it, it seems to be more of a participant sport than a spectator sport. I think most people probably agree. It's great fun if you're racing in it, but to actually watch, it's very hard to follow. Which is a bit of an issue with it, because normally you have to be interested in spectating to get involved in participating, the general public wise. But yeah, it's exciting when you know what's going on. But if you're just just stumbled upon it, it is very difficult to understand it.
Yeah. So DJI did well to stay away then.
Business-wise, yeah, it's not really big enough for someone like DJI to get involved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we had
help me out on something. The FPV races are usually 2-3 minutes each race, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's got to the point now where the pilots are so quick that you're pushing a battery if you're flying 2 minutes. Like, your battery will come down hot in about 2 minutes. I mean, there was a point where DRL, Drone Racing League, came to London, and I went to go and watch it, and they had, I think it was Betfair was there, and it sort of made sense. Like, if they could turn it into almost like a dog racing or horse racing, betting kind of sport, that might work. You know, if you had like 4 pilots with different colours, you can place your bet on that and stuff like that. But in terms of, you know, getting up to F1 level, I don't really think it can.
Yeah, well, in popularity at small size or in just ever, because I think the big stuff has got a chance, just because the crashes will be big. It'll sound big, you know, when they're rushing past. There'll be the noise. There'll be the, you know, I do think the large stuff has got a chance, but you don't, then obviously.
It's very hard to say. I think the like once I said, it's an issue getting people involved if you can't spectate it easily. Like, you know, with, for example, MotoGP, the viewing numbers are quite a bit less than Formula One, and the majority of bike riders in the world is a lot higher than drone racers. So I don't know, it's quite hard to explain. You need to get people involved, you know, from making it interesting from a spectator and not just a participant sport.
Well, it was going to be the next very, very, very big thing, wasn't it, in our world? It was going to be, we were all going to become professional drone racers, and it was going to make people millions and millions of dollars. But there we are, such as things. Maybe
it might do that.
It might do. Yeah, I don't know. Well, I don't know, Bruce. You're good at trends and fads and technical things like that. Where do you see that in the hype curve of the Bruce and Arium's opinion?
Yeah, I think the real problem is if you're watching Formula One or other forms of motor car racing, you can visualize yourself doing that too. You know, I mean, most people drive a car, so they know, driving a car, and they can appreciate how cars are driven fast. The reason that your motorcycle racing perhaps isn't as popular is because not so many people ride motorbikes, so they don't have that same connection. Oh, well, thank you, Lily. They don't have the same connection. And I think when it comes to drone racing, the only people interested in drone racing are drone racers, because no one else does it, so they can't get that connection. It's too abstract. There's no connection with them. And you can get good aviation sport events like the Red Bull Air races, but they tend to be very specialist, and you can't have them all the time. They have to be sort of special events rather than an ongoing series. In fact, I haven't seen anything from the Red Bull Air races for a while, at least not down here, so the coverage has dropped off a bit. And yeah, drone racing, as you say, they're too small, you can't see. It was going to be big because drones were the buzzword, and the media said it was going to be big, and we know how accurate the media are these days. So I see it as remaining a niche sport. Great fun for those who do it, but it's not going to take over the world.
It is, yeah, it is. I'm rubbish at it, but I enjoy it. My 14-year-old now, he loves flying around as well. And it is great fun to do. But yeah, the actual watching of it at Farnborough, they did have a good thing. Their course went through a tunnel, as it were. Well, you as a spectator in a tunnel, and you went through, and they flew above your head. That was cool. When it went, but
you can see nothing. I mean, you just see a bunch of flights passing by.
Yes, exactly what you see. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a tricky one, isn't it? Right. Anyway, let's move on. The Danish are down. I'm going to mute you again, Tom, and you just unmute yourself if you feel the need to jump in.
Sorry about that.
Okay, mate. It's all right. Oh, I can't mute him now. There we go. The Danish.
Are they Danish or Danes? What do you call someone from Denmark?
Well, it's the bacon. It's called Danish. I don't know about the people.
The whiskey's called Scotch, but they're called Scottish people.
Oh, trust you. I don't know. I'm going to
We've
call
got to
them
be politically
Dans.
correct here, Gary. We've got to lead the world and make sure we don't offend people. I'd hate to offend anybody.
Yeah, but if you'd have done it, it'd have been all right. That's that you lead the way with the offensive stuff normally, not me. No, all right. Well, the people from Denmark they, have done a study, or they have canvas for Danes, says Seagull UAV, and or Vikings. Anyway, yes, invaders. But anyway,
Ethelred the Untidy.
Something like that. Yeah, you've seen behind me. Ethelred the Never Read, the illiterate. Yeah, so they did a study on people, how ARP has affected people and their reaction to it. I don't know. Did you see that one, Bruce?
Yeah, I did read that, and I thought that was an awful lot of nothing. It didn't really say much. It said people get worried if drones fly over their property. Well, we knew that. And the size didn't seem to matter so much. They were worried about the altitude more than anything else. But I'm thinking, well, really, I don't see the real point of that survey other than it gave someone something to do for an afternoon.
Come on,
yes.
That was at least a project from someone for 1 full year or 6 months or whatever. Not an afternoon, Bruce. You forget all the field work, the preparation, the analysis. Come on, Bruce.
We work fast in this part of the world, mate. We don't dally.
Well, you are in the future, so that would you said that. Now there have been some other studies out last week. In fact, the Civil Aviation Authority in the UK put out their report on safety. Was it on safety? I can't even remember I can't remember what it was entitled. I'm tired. But what I did notice, and what stood out to me, was they based risk on cost. Now, is that a good idea, basing risk on cost of the platform?
Come on, Gary. The last time that the study came from UK, they only published a part of that study. Has this new study come up entirely?
I think that was that study, wasn't it, Bruce?
I'm not sure. I don't know how it related to that. There didn't seem to be too much. We've talked about FAA tests and other countries that had done tests. But what surprised me was that they actually downplayed the risk quite significantly in terms of the media hysteria. They said basically these are pretty low risk, and they even quoted from engine manufacturers who said a drone being ingested into a turbine is unlikely to cause a catastrophic failure. So it really did lighten up on the risk factor. And one thing that disturbed me though was they claimed 7 collisions between drones and manned aircraft. And if you look at the actual report they got it from, some of them were strongly suspected as being collisions, and other one was like that collision in Canada, which was never properly evidenced, and it wasn't even investigated. So when you see that, they're presenting evidence which is not totally correct, you've got to wonder how much of the rest of the report is not totally correct.
Yeah, there's been more than one big media story that's fallen apart under scrutiny last year. I think we're going to see that. I think we're going to see those disappearing away.
I don't know. At least those guys do some studies. The Portuguese FAA announced that they're now conducting again some new studies on the effectiveness of anti-drone machinery, and they're doing their tests on an airfield nearby Lisbon, and they're evaluating from several vendors that are trying to sell that to wherever, airports, I don't know. So at least those guys do the studies. These guys go and buy crazy stuff from whoever they want to buy them. So anti-drone is what is fashionable here.
Louis, you're going to have to move to Rwanda, because I saw a story this morning that says Rwanda is declaring itself drone friendly, and they're not setting so much rules and regulations as requiring those who fly drones to simply claim they're going to meet a certain level of safety operation. So it's going to be, according to the story, the pretty much deregulated, and you'll be able to do what you like there, taking advantage of their sort of third world status. They don't care too much about the risks involved. And so go there, man, go there.
Oh, Bruce, I can do whatever I want nearby where I live. The nearest place where I can go fly without any special permit to operate the drone without camera, because if it has a camera, I have to get a permit, is a place that I have to pay a fee of 150 euros to overfly that area. And it's not one fee per year. No, it's each time I go there. So, and I have to drive 30 kilometers to go there. So, where
so
I am,
Rwanda's looking pretty good.
Rwanda is looking pretty good.
Yeah. Gary, it's just down the road from you, isn't it?
We're just up the road a bit. Yeah, you can. People do drive there. It is drivable. It's only about 2.5 days. So yeah, you could get there. Yeah, I only wish we had sensible regulations here. Just don't get me started ranting on that again.
Rant moment is over.
Well, yeah, Zimbabwe seems like they might be going quite reasonable, and so does Malawi as well. Botswana, Namibia. Yeah, there is opportunity here. I mean, there are gajillions of people.
Yeah, but you're going to operate an autonomous on Lesotho, right?
Absolutely. And yeah, that's
and virtually, so no regulations required.
Yeah, but no, in my virtual world, I make the rules. So you know, if you think the rules around the world are so, you wait till I make the rules. They're gonna be tough, I tell you. Yeah, I know. It's
So that's how you make a profit. You make these rules. There's fees for everything. You get people hooked and then charge them for landings and takeoffs and overflights and yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I've seen what the others do. Obviously, this is the hooking period. You know, they're grabbing people in time, and then yeah, obviously fees will go up. Fees won't fall. Fees will fall is a campaign here in South Africa to get rid of higher education fees. So that's the opposite thing. But yeah, no, an Air Autonomous has had a little bit of interest, amazingly, from which is mad. A city in Australia wants to set up a UAS testing, a real UAS testing area, but they also want to do it in VR as well, as it were. VR, that's overplaying it in a flight simulator. Yeah, and another manufacturer said, hey, look, we've got this aeroplane and it would be fun to test it with some people. We'll get an X-plane model to you. So yeah, perhaps it might start falling together, and we could see some interesting things going on. It would be very interesting to have 30 or 40 airframes flying around in an area, say for argument's sake Lesotho, or for Jamie's case off Aberporth in the UK, and see the real-time weather build, and then see what those operators decide to do, or what the platforms autonomously decide to do, because that's what's really going to happen at the end of the day. Is there's going to be some bad weather, and that'll have to be, I don't know, maybe the platform's on the way to an airfield. You've got wind measuring gear at the airfield, and it sends a signal saying, oh, by the way, everybody, it's a bit too windy. The machine's going to have to decide where to go, because Lesotho, you're going to be out of radio range for most of the time. So all these things we've got to start thinking about that sort of thing. You know, it's got to be, it's your favorite thing, a companion computer, but I hate the word. I want to call them co-pilots. There's something for the co-pilot to do.
No,
and where do we get our mugs, caps, and t-shirts?
Oh, merchandise. Yeah, I should have done that first.
Yeah,
right.
Should have merch it up, mate. Merch it right up.
Kickstarter soon. Yeah, I know. It's well, it's if dear viewer, if you want to join in, you can join in for free. There is no fee yet. Bruce, yeah, well, Bruce is my financial advisor, obviously, and plainly you'll be having stern words with me afterwards for saying it's for free. But yeah, no, there's already several aircraft that you can fly autonomously using software in the loop from the RG Pilot project.
Isn't that an oxymoron? You can fly the aircraft autonomously.
Probably, but isn't oxymoron something I should be giving to my teenagers to help with their spots?
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. Yes, you're probably exactly right, Bruce. But yeah, I think
Bruce,
some of the
we
guys.
just have to teach the drones to fly like you.
No,
We'll have.
That would be a disaster, Louis. Have you seen me fly?
No, I've seen your friend Ron flying, and
I've been watching Ron's channel, and I have already put the link in the description below. Ron needs help. Ron needs minutes. So you gotta go and you've got to. How many hours have we all got to watch? We've all got to watch 10 hours each, haven't we, or something?
Yeah, I can't remember. Yeah, but he needs help. Any spare medicines you're not using, send them his way.
We used to be having most of yours. Everyone else is at the airfield. Forced landings will happen, says Bush Pilot. They will, but forced landings, if we've got the smarts on board the aircraft, why not send the aircraft off for the best forced landing? And that's kind of one of the things we're missing. Even in a simple mapping mission around the farm or wherever you are, you take off in one direction, the wind changes. Why doesn't it make a better decision on which way it's going to land instead of driving down the hill in the way you've told it to? I think that's got to happen. I don't know, Louis. Am I talking out of an orifice here, Louis?
No, at Ardu pilots and on the plane variant, we just launched a new beta version, and we are not there yet. But some of the air sensors, some new air sensors have been added, so it's a good way to help out to have a good wind speed indication to the autopilot. So we are there. We are moving there, and that handles the plane attitude in flight and corrects the flight. And then the smarts are done with, like you say, with the companion computers. And I believe the system will evolve on big planes, RC / industrial planes, to smarter systems eventually. We have a way to go. We have a couple of sensors on the info that we have to make to the flight controllers, so to enable the flight controllers to do smarter decisions that it does these days. But even so, with a limited amount of smarts on the flight controller, I believe we do quite well.
Yeah, but it's going to be the evolution. We've got to start thinking 10, 20 years ahead. Now, Tom, if you can unmute yourself. Jean Shear's asking, what are your plans when you graduate? PhD, private sector, and we know you've graduated. So now we get to see his coffee mug again. What else do we get to see?
There you go.
There we go. No, I'll answer that for you,
Eugene.
Gene. Don't worry. Yeah, you're back with it. That sounds better. Yeah, that is
and
better.
no chips.
Sorry?
And no chips. The sound now is great.
Oh, good. I think it was because I was charging my phone from a battery pack and it wasn't grounded, so I've put it into my computer now. Should be better.
Oh,
there we go. All right. Well, you can stay with us. So you can answer Gene. He's talking about your plans.
Yeah. So I mentioned earlier I graduated last year, and my parents have basically given me a year before I have to apply for a proper job, I guess you could call it. So instead of going traveling and stuff, I just thought I would try and explore YouTube a bit more. Try and push that. I'm not sure how long it's going to last, but it opens different possibilities, I think. So I occasionally get emails from like, I don't know whether like startup companies that have lots of different aircraft ideas. So maybe I'll find myself into one of those or something like that.
Don't do
I'm not sure.
I don't know what Bruce's and I don't know what everyone else's thoughts on internships are, but I think, and especially with your talent set and skills, you've got knowledge that people will want. Don't sell yourself cheap. Don't.
Can you do 3D rendering? Can you do 3D rendering?
Like CAD renderings, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well, you're in, mate. You're in.
Well,
every startup will want you.
I cannot say that my company is hiring interns and not only interns, but I cannot say that.
Yeah, I feel like I've got a degree in aerospace engineering, but I have struggled a lot with education, so I'm almost trying to turn my YouTube into my CV. Sort of get my name out there a bit, and it's just different, isn't it? I mean, when I look at how many people graduated with the same degree as me, it's quite hard to differentiate yourself. So that's sort of why I'm doing it as well.
Some hands-on experience is invaluable. It's and looking at pieces of code and understanding what the code is doing in these day and times is important, very important.
Yeah.
No, I think
it's also important. It's also important you get a passion for what you do, and if you're doing that in your YouTube channel, it shows you're not just seeing this as a job, but it's something of an interest and a passion. So you'll be more committed to what you're doing, and you'll know more, and you'll be better at it generally. I mean, I've employed a lot of people over the years, and you can tell by what someone does in their spare time if they're going to be good at what they're trying to do in the job they're applying for.
Yeah, I'm not very good at doing stuff that I don't like doing, which is a bit of a negative part, but. Like, for example, I over Christmas I designed a 3D printed turbine, and I remember when I was learning about it at university, I thought it was the most boring thing ever. But when I wanted to make something from it, I thought it was really interesting. So I guess that's a slight negative with me. I'm a bit too selective with what I want to do.
You're just being honest. Everyone has the same problem.
Yeah, I guess so.
I wouldn't put yourself down too much. That's not necessarily a fault, your own fault. That might be a fault of your lecturer and the education system if they didn't light it up well enough for you. No, fair play. I think you're on a perfect track, and I'm sure I think you'll be quite surprised that the grown-ups that will be watching your channel that might have some cash for you, but don't sell yourself cheap. Don't flip it into, I think it's a con for the youth of today. I'm ranting again. And Bush Pilot 2001, who I know is a very experienced pilot, says your channel's good. So that's a good thing. I don't know if you can you see the comments, Tom, or you?
I can, yeah, thank you.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, I've got the YouTube stream up here.
Marvelous. Right, where shall we? Oh, have you got the stream up? Is it flicking between our faces, or is it just static on people at the minute?
No, it's moving around.
Oh, okay, cool. All right, it's gone static for me. I don't know why.
Has my audio gone funny again because I'm up on the screen?
It's okay. Your audio is good.
I tried to get the live stream comments to come up in the side, but it's beyond me. So if you can do that, there's a job here doing. Keep ranting. So how's it, Kevin? How you doing?
No, it's an internship, Gary. It's not a job. It's an internship.
It's an internship. Yeah. I've got an internship coming up at Air Autonomous. No, I don't understand. I just don't like that. I don't think it's a good idea. It's all right if it's your week, your school's work experience for a week. That's one thing, but having people working in places with high skill sets for no money, that's wrong. That's wrong.
A question for Louis. Is ArduPilot going to be part of the new air tankers for putting out forest fires?
We don't go directly to that. We support every user that has a special need for that. And we just recently published a code of conduct for our developers. As long as we don't infringe our own approved code of conduct, we're okay with that. That's something that can be done. Would require some smarts from a companion computer. Here I go again, Gary. Sorry. But it's quite feasible. In Portugal, we have one company that sold to the government a few foamies do the surveillance of fires. Don't know how that project is, but we know they sold the planes to the government. But ArduPilot specifically, as it is so versatile, can be easily adapted to any kind of vertical market that the users or companies or partners want to take over. That's not very difficult.
So converting a full-size aircraft to unmanned status, Has Arduino thought about that? Because obviously that would require
no. Full size is a different story because there are lots of regulations, and I can remember from top of my head the 0178B, which is a regulation for software that runs on planes, and the current Arduino code is not on that classification. So full size is a different ball game. We cannot go there currently.
Well, that's where the Air Autonomous, we're using the Aurora Flight Sciences alias system for the for the real aircraft. But you've seen that, I've ranted about that before. It is in effect a robot that's put in the co-pilot's seat. One arm moves the stick, the other arm moves the buttons, and it's got cameras on it, and you sit it in the co-pilot's seat. It watches the man for less than a month, and it learns how to fly the thing. It's amazing. So you can, and that's already, but here's the difference. That is already certified to fly a Caravan, an S-76, and something else. It's three aircraft. That's already
simulated aircraft. It's
no, real in real life.
But not endorsed by Arduino. As an open source project, open source project, we cannot go there.
But that's Aurora Flight Sciences are not using Arduino, and but it is a signed off thing. And then of course the other big the one that's really moved things forward is the Canon K-Max that was converted by Lockheed Martin, and the Marines love that thing.
But that's the Kestrel flight controller that costs beyond a fortune, right?
Sure, of course. But the point I'm trying to make is converting manned aircraft makes an awful lot of sense in the near term. There's a lot of aircraft that are perfectly serviceable. People know how to fix them. Pilots know how to fly them. Air traffic systems know how to integrate them. They make a lot of sense until the newer ones come along, the modern designs.
Arduino as an open source project is quite limited in resources, and we take into account the contributions of users, and we are giving small steps to have every time more and more devices speaking with the flight controller. One of the greatest announcements that has been done, and one of the developments that users on the community of open source have been using is, for instance, UAV Can for Hobbyists by a German gentleman called Ollie W., which has already brought us the Storm 32 gimbals, and is pushing very hard to have UAV Can for Hobbyists to integrate with Arduino, and that will allow us to have a more wide variety of devices that connect to Arduino. At the moment, you're stuck with a couple of I2C, I2C serial devices, and a handful of devices that speak UAV Can. And this gentleman from Germany has managed to make it as democratic as as possible. So let's see how this project goes. I believe it because we already have good experience with his previous project of the gimbal controller, and it's a step. We take very small steps. Perhaps the biggest step in the last few years is the current move to GBOs that is being led by Trich, as usual, and has already managed to port most of the boards, including new flight controllers, not only the Cube and the Pixox and the Pix Racers, but even a few ones that we were wanting to use, like this Mind PX controller, which is quite nice, small, and has a stabilized IMU, so it makes some mountings quite easy. And it's a project that is being pushed very hard by Twitch these days. So we'll get some very good announcements in the future, in the very near future.
But they're all moving on, and newer, faster processors and all those other sorts of things. It's well, let's loop it all the way back around to the new DJI thing. That's just full of
but
clever stuff.
Gary, how many developers does DJI can engage on a specific task?
Well, they've got 3,000, haven't they?
I don't know. I've heard 5,000, 15,000. It really depends on who you listen to. But come on, there's a room for everyone here, and DJI is developing very good stuff. They have very good hardware being developed, and they are the target from several, and they're the most visible target on the drone market. So they have to be careful, but they have a good development track record. And even for Gary, even for industrial companies, they were smart when they released their SDKs. So they enable people to develop on their platforms and for their platforms. They've been very smart on that.
Bruce in the comments, Paul Johnson says he'd like to see Bruce do some work with ArduPilot. So I don't know if you've ever flown any ArduPilot stuff. I don't know.
I've seen lots of people struggling with ArduPilot around here. Anything that's got that much power is not going to be simple or easy to use. I'm going to be looking a bit more at autonomous flight controllers. I've got the FTW, and I'm looking at iNav, and I've got a Pixel here. Will that run ArduPilot? So I may look at.
Hold on. Watch out what you deserve, Bruce, because a user from the community, a Russian individual, has ported for the F4 boards. Does that ring a bell to you?
Yeah.
So he ported, and we have a launch PR to integrate on ArduPilot, because he did an excellent 170,000 lines of code to review. So that's a big trouble.
We do that in an afternoon here. We work real quick here.
You work real quick?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'll give you
I'm
the
sure
link.
that,
I'll
in
give
the
you
rest
the
of the
link,
world,
Bruce. I'll give you the link, and you can review the code, please.
No, but in the rest of the world, you wouldn't get away with exploiting hobbits like you do over there, and that's how you can get things done. If you want to exploit the little people in such a way, that's fine, but I don't think it's right myself.
And
it's an internship, Gary.
There you go. You're working them up to square doors next. You're going to be taking them all the way up to that.
No, but
yes, the FPV underground.
But Bruce, we even have support for those vehicles like Tom uses of the Chinook style. So ArduPilot has a problem which is very versatile, which is also a benefit. So it works both ways.
Well, how many parameters I'm going to ask Tom?
Oh my god!
Which controller the parameter list has gone nuts.
On copter, I believe we are in around 700 or 800 parameters, but we are trying to make it easy. So lately, you just have to fiddle with one or two, because we've implemented AutoTune that will do a lot of work for you and bring a copter, for instance, or a plane to a very reasonable status.
Yeah, my experience to date has been, I've seen people come out here and they've fiddled around on the ground for 2 hours, and there's things saying bad gyro health, and then they finally get the thing up ready to go, arm it. They get a 20-minute flight, and meanwhile, I've been having so much fun. I'm thinking, why are you bothering?
Bruce, it's how should I put this? Don't try to reinvent what people, the core development team has already done. Most of the time, an ArduPilot on a good and that's one of the issues on good hardware, not some AliExpress or whatever places that you get the controllers. Sometimes you have problems because of the hardware. If you have a good flight controller, good hardware like a regular Pixhawk, a Pixracer, I'll give you an example. This one has a Pixracer inside, okay? And what I did on this one, I flashed the latest version of Ardocopter, plugged the battery, went up to the air, did an auto tune, and I was using the drone at the end of one single battery. I did nothing. Just did what I just went by the book and didn't try to reinvent the wheel, which is a problem when you see 800 parameters and you think of things that you used to do before, but now it's not necessary. It's a matter of attitude. And I'm sure if you want, I can help you out, which is something that we also do to new users of ArduPilot. We try to help out everyone.
Yeah, I think, as I said, it's such a complex thing. With power comes complexity, and it does become difficult for people to get over that initial learning curve from what I've seen. But, and it's also a case of the right tool for the right job. I mean, most of the flying I do for my own enjoyment, I wouldn't benefit from anything. I think I only have one aircraft with a GPS on it because I am someone who flies rather than programs my craft. So, I'm going to look at iNav, as I say, because that's a cheap budget, quick and easy setup in theory. And I will include the Pixhawk. I've got a Pixhawk here. A 3DR one's any good? I've got one of those, which I could, set up and just go through the process and just get a feel for how much is involved. The trouble is, of course, I have a background in electronics, software, and flying, so the learning curve for me should be a lot easier than someone who is coming in cold and wanting to
I'm not so sure of it, because you're also a tinkerer. So you'll want to tinker. No, you'll want to tinker with, I have to mess around with the P. No, I have to mess around with the I. No, I have to mess around with the D. No, just flash it, a recent release version, and you'll have a great experience, Bruce.
Well, the other
give it a go, mate.
Well, the thing I always say to people is, if you're old enough, and Tom won't be old enough, and Jamie, who's in the comments, won't be old enough, but cars in the 80s had those graphic equalizer things, a little row, and your mates would get in your car, you put your music on, and they'd fiddle around with that, the whole thing, and then they'd get out, and another mate would do it, and everyone always ended up putting them at noughts, and there's too many things to move. If you just do, there's three things, actually. You've got to have, as Louis says, reasonable hardware. You've got to set your aircraft up correctly.
Yes, fundamental.
If it's a multi-rotor and you've got the speed controllers the wrong way around, no amount of fiddling with the flight controller, any flight controller, whether that be iNav, Naze, or whatever, is it going to work? So that's got to be right. And then for both helicopter and aircraft, there's auto tune there. So particularly with an airplane, I guess you'll be using an airplane, Bruce, because that's proper stuff, not this multi-rotor nonsense. Just as long as the thing can fly in balanced flight normally, just flick on auto tune, roll the controls a few times, spend 10 minutes just flying around, and that's it, done. You're done. And then don't touch anything else. Because, as Louis said, that's when all the fiddling starts. And that's the trouble. And there is a function of how much you expose to the user, isn't it? I suppose.
Yeah.
That's a conversation that the project should probably have. Is let's reduce what people can fiddle with, and that'll save a lot of trouble, I think.
For instance, Bruce, this small drone that I showed you before, I tried to make it fly with this controller, running Naze 32. And I spent quite some time trying to make it fly well. I fiddled with the small amount of parameters and never flew as sharp as the other one with the other flight controller. Same drone. So it's a matter of don't try to reinvent the wheel.
And for Jamie, there is out-of-the-box settings in ArduPilot as well that will fly it out of the box. But if you want to fly a mapping mission on a windy day, you've got to start sorting out the parameters a little bit. Auto lands, auto takeoffs, you're better off having it. But yeah, it has exactly the same. You can chuck it, you chuck the airplane, it will detect the acceleration and then power up and fly away.
But Gary, I believe we'll see Bruce trying the throw mode of ArduPilot on copters. So Bruce, you can pick up your drone, show it in the air, and it will get itself straight and do whatever you want. So
I did that about 4 years ago, Louis. If you watch my mini quad build video, I did a throw launch.
But this one is a lot safer than what you did, Bruce.
The only thing I have to say is, I mean, it's just my own personal perspective, is I don't personally see the point of putting all this gear on your model so that it can fly around by itself. Like that's not flying. That's it's a whole different community, whole different goals, whole different set of things. So I'm going to do this, but it's not something I'd do probably for my own enjoyment. To let you know, back in 2005, I built my own flight controller, my own fully autonomous aircraft. Had a glow plug motor on it. I've still got it out here actually. I'll put pictures up on my channel at one stage, and it had fully autonomous flight capability, auto takeoff, multiple waypoints, and auto land. And so I did that, and it was great, but I've done it.
Bruce, I'll just tell you something. We have a flip mode, so you can flip all your arts content with ArduPilot.
I'm into proximity flying, which is, I don't give the freestyle stuff or the racing stuff. I'm in proximity, where it's basically flying through wooded areas and through obstacles and things. So again, it's not something you can autonomously do yet. You need a pretty good LiDAR system for that.
Yes, but yes, you can. Yes, you can. Come on.
Show me.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. You just stick a bunch of these small LiDARs all around your drone, and ArduPilot has support to do anti-collision using this. So even if you try to go straight to a tree, the drone will stop and will prevent you to harm the tree. So we are
no. The whole idea is you want to go through the tiny little gap in the branches. Will it do that?
Yes, depends on the settings you program on the anti-collision.
So have you got video of this, Louis?
Yeah, there are videos of this by Randy McKay that when he improved this.
Now, you should send the links to Gary. He can put them on the description of this video when it's thing, because I think a lot of people would be interested in that.
Yeah, but it's on the ArduPilot YouTube channel. We don't have much content there, but we have some content of the features that we are developing, and we input some. We get some of these videos there.
And so I can fly my ArduPilot without a laptop and stuff?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Oh, good. Excellent.
Come on, Bruce.
You are almost mandated to have the most ridiculous set of antennas known to man. And
I often okay, it's better to have more information, so you can take the laptop, the phone, tablet, whatever, running a ground control station. These days, with these kinds of radios, it's very easy to do that. You don't need much.
You can display in the Tyrannus screen. You can turn it into a
telemetry screen. Yeah, but that's even the small Betaflight already has now some telemetry back to ground. We can be quite extensive on the amount of telemetry you send back to Earth, but if you fly for recreation, what you need to know and set up is the battery failsafe and the radio failsafe. basically it. And the drone will prevent it's yourself to do something wrong, Bruce. Not that you do something wrong.
So why do you think we haven't seen ArduPilot on mini quads? It's like, I've never seen a mini quad apart from yours with ArduPilot on it.
Yeah, there are quite a few users. One of the lead developers that develops the stabilization part, Leonard Hall, he is quite active on the forums when people come up with questions about setting up small quads. He's very good at it. He knows the code back and forth, so he can give some tips on what, if you want to fiddle on parameters, you can go and fiddle with parameters. But
I think but I think that's the problem. That's the reason. That's the reason, though, Louis, is you know, you get a naze board, you put it in, and away it goes. And that's that.
No, it's not. Dear. It's not. It might not be easy, but
yeah, no, it's yeah. But you're right, Bruce. You don't want to be just flying around with. Yeah, it's not model flying, and it is pretty pointless if you haven't got a task for your RPAS to be going off and doing once you've set it up. It is, yeah. I mean, obviously, stuff like that.
Bruce, what I see on using ArduPilot on small drones is something that I've used extensively. Is having new users come up and wanting to learn to fly. And either you activate a fail-safe mode that stops the drone in the middle of the air, so he's trying to do some rolls and loops and all that, and you see he won't make it, and you just flick a switch and the drone will get itself straight and saving the user from unexpected expenses. So you can always program the drone to do not harm the user wallet in this case.
Yes. I'm just making some. Excuse me a second. I'm just doing some moderation in the comments, and I don't know how to do this. Never had to do this. We've hit a new high, a new low. I don't know which one is it. Which flight controller are you using, Tom? Is it?
Well, I'm currently using the Race Flight Revolt, I think it is. Yeah, I mean, I used the Naze 32 Rev 5 for about 2 years now. I loved it, and then my friends made me convert to something a bit more advanced.
But sorry, Tom. What are you using on your Chinook?
The Race Flight Revolt. Yeah. I stole it out of one of my mini quads. And no, I see both of your guys' points of views. I mean, going even further back with the choice of changing all the values and stuff. You know, I had a NASA M Lite or whatever it was back in the day, and yeah, it flew good, but you could never fine tune it, which drove me a bit nuts. And then I did have an ArduPilot, but I never actually implemented it. But if it's similar to, you know, the way you can tune a Naze board or the mini quad boards nowadays, then obviously that's pretty handy. I always had a yaw issue, a wobble on the yaw axis with my NASA. But yeah, they're two completely different views of what you want to fly. Like with Bruce, you know, flying through trees and stuff. Sometimes I just like to go and fly a plane where the control is directly from the receiver to the servos, nothing in between. You know, you have full control. And then sometimes I want to make like the Chinook, where you know it's gyro accelerometer control and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. It changes depending on what you want to do.
Yeah, it's completely different. For instance, on a copter, on a multi-rotor is almost impossible to fly manually, but on plane you can have a bypass mode. On ArduPilot plane,
yeah.
ArduPlane, you can bypass it completely and fly straight to the servos.
Yeah, I think ArduPilot is the Swiss Army knife of flight controllers, where things like the Naze boards and that, and the F3s, F4s, they are more like a scalpel designed for one particular task. And people are repurposing them because you've got iNav and things, but you choose the right tool for the job, don't you?
Yeah, but even if you watch at Beta Flight is now bringing stuff that we already have on ArduPilot, because we every project goes and picks up stuff from one another, and for instance, the IMU isolation, it was something that ArduPilot always had, and now it's only now that problem is being raised on the other flight stacks. It's something that has to be addressed. We have some years of experience handling those issues.
I think also with the what you're saying about the mini quad boards are specialized specifically for the mini quads. I've spoken to like some of the top racing pilots and the minuscule changes in anything, and they notice it. And I feel, well, I don't know about the ArduPilot, but I'm guessing it's not up to scratch with those kind of boards in that area, in that field of aircraft.
It really depends on your field. If I change some parameters, I can notice the minute differences on the behavior of the drone, especially for a highly overpowered drone like these small quads. This quad, if I didn't add the tune for instance the throttle, it would fly almost with the throttle at 0. So I would need just a small touch of throttle to get it up in the air. So it is highly overpowered. So now it's staying. So it flies like I want it. It's more versatile. I can make it do and fly like I want on each occasion. If I want to be more aggressive and do some high-speed passes and not going through around trees like Bruce, because I'm not so brave flying around trees or against trees. That's more like me, like my flying style. It behaves more. It's more controllable, the behavior.
Yeah, I think the difference is that Louis and I are probably both members of Team Nana, and these sort of the high-speed racers, they are ninja warriors. They have they're so good. Some of these, especially the young ones, they can tell the smallest little detail. I have trouble telling when a prop's fallen off. It's like they're so good that they would notice those fine-tuned differences. And I don't know. I tend to wonder. I don't think perhaps that the ArduPilot would have that degree of, because they're running PID loop times now, which are like 5, 6, 10 times more than they were when we first came out. And these things are quite important. They notice the smallest little things, like going from an RC link with a latency of 17 milliseconds to one with 15 milliseconds. They'll notice that. If the camera's got latency, they notice it. I'm old and slow and I don't notice it. I like having latency because I don't know that I fit a tree until 2 seconds later, and it gives me the extra pleasure for 2 seconds. But there's different tools for different jobs, and I think ArduPilot is probably more for the autonomous mission plan type operation. It's never probably going to be a force in the mini quad racing. But having said that, there are a lot of people who don't, like me, I don't race and I don't fly freestyle, so I don't need all the high super tech gear. And a lot of people would be much happier knowing that if I get into trouble, I flick the switch and my quad comes back and lands at my feet. And that's where ArduPilot's quite good. But then even then there's competition. I've reviewed some of these consumer grade drones, and they have these facilities that Louis is talking about. For $150, you can buy a drone that's got GPS. It will, you flick a switch, it comes back, lands at your feet. It's got self-leveling mode. It's got an acro mode where it'll do flips and automatically level afterwards. So
Bruce, we have such a commercial product using ArduPilot, the Sky Viper. And
is that the one with the geared brushed motors?
Yeah.
Or has it got brushed? Yeah, that's not really the same market.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah.
For I'm speaking same price range market, and it's the same thing. And for instance, imagine that you go fly in the middle of a forest. We have a smart return to launch mode that would retrace your steps coming back. So if the drone fails, it won't go stupidly in a straight line to back home. It would retrace your steps, an optimized path of your previous steps. So even if you lose something or you're frightened of something, you just flick the return to launch, smart return to launch, and the drone will retrace his steps back to where it started. So it's different and more, perhaps. I already tried to fly some of those crazy, highly tuned drones, and for me, it's almost impossible. I can see the precision. I can appreciate the precision. Most of the time, I don't need it. I just fly for fun. While I'm flying for fun. When I'm at work, that's a completely different issue.
I find that you can waste an awful lot of time super tuning a system. Once you've got it and you've got it working and it flies the mapping routes that I would want it to work, that's good enough. There's no point, again, I'll come back to those graphic equalizers. There's no point keeping moving all the sliders. If it works, and that'll do. And don't forget, Autopilot is where the name becomes a bit of a misnomer. It also can drive your boat, fly your helicopter, RC cars, submarines. Submarines I don't really get. Once upon a time, pull up a sandbag at the barge near Halley Street, which isn't too far away from where Tom is. We stood outside on one lovely summer's evening, having flown our gliders on top of the hill for all the Americans, but they weren't where the tourists were. And we stood with our RC controls and they asked us what we're doing. We said we're the Pewsey Vale Amateur Submarine Club. And we were all just them parking our submarines. But anyway, I do get submarines. I know.
And you're forgetting Ardusoars. So we already
I use that, yes. The autonomous soaring, yes. Yeah. That's very, very cool. It is
that's one of the ones I don't get. I really enjoy thermal soaring with my discus launch glider. And the fun of it is spotting the thermals, working with them. It's the man versus environment thing. I don't want to. Why am I going to let a computer have all the fun?
Yeah, well, no, there is that. But of course, if you've got a mission where you need to, my use case was to keep our receivers for our animal tracking stuff that we do here, keeping those receivers in the air longer, and it just helps me increase the endurance in an autonomous way, whilst also. So yes, you could argue that I could do that from the ground, which I did a lot, doing that same self thing using the thermals with my eye, but I could let it plod around a pattern and eat me sandwiches.
By the way, and Bruce, when the vehicle is 1 kilometer away from you, how do you know what to do?
Well, Louis, the regulations in most countries say you can't fly beyond visual line of sight.
Okay, you can't. You see it at 1 kilometer. You just said it.
And the other challenge is maintaining altitude without going too far away. But this is the whole thing. Gary talks about his missions and things. I know in this country you cannot, without all sorts of red tape, and I don't know if they've even issued it, or they have in a couple of cases, but autonomy is not permitted. You must have someone there able and ready to take control of the aircraft at all times. So you're doing that.
Yeah. You are in the loop though.
Yeah. So that sort of completely, in some ways, eliminates many of the benefits of an autonomous craft. The pilot is, it's like having autopilot in a plane. You can't take the pilot out and let it fly itself. You still got to have a pilot, so you're still paying him wages. And if you've got someone in the loop, what again is the benefit of the autonomous?
Well, that's the next big issue, isn't it? That is the big issue with where regulators and autonomy and everything's going. For a lot of these delivery drone use cases, they will rely on the fact that there isn't a pilot in the loop for every single one of those aircraft. Otherwise, it won't make financial sense, and that's going to be a huge sticking point.
Off to Rwanda we go.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yes, absolutely. Yeah, it's very interesting times in which we live. Now, look, we've rattled on easily past the hour here. What was? Oh, I know what I'm supposed to. I'll add in if you're in America and oh no, I have 100 seconds. Here we go again. Sorry, I'm just putting in timeout. There we go. Oh no, and another one. Right, our show SUSB Expo is happening in San Francisco, April 25th and 26th. It's at the Marines Memorial Club, and there's the 25th is just an indoor talky thing, but the 26th is probably more exciting day because it's uncaged flying, which is unusual in the drone show world, and that's going to be on Treasure Island. So enough of that before the spammer comes back, and I've got that bit in. Did anyone else see anything else that they wanted to mention?
I just wanted to say again, unfortunately, it's very tragic. People have died in a collision between a helicopter and a manned aircraft, this time in Germany. Again, making my point that the biggest threat to manned aviation is manned aviation. And I think if the talk about transponders and drones keeps going on and on, I think before we're required to have transponders in all our drones, we have to have TCAS in every manned aircraft. If they want to save lives, that's going to save so many more lives because no one's been killed by a collision with a drone yet. So focus on the real problem, and that's manned aircraft banging into each other, mandatory TCAS. Let's make it happen.
Yeah. And it would be much easier if the manned aviation world was equipped with modern electronic equipment, because our world, as it were, can see them and get out of the way far more easily then. So it's two benefits, isn't it? They're going to not hit each other, and we'll be able to stay out of the way, and everything will be fine and dandy. And there's far less of them than us. So it's easier to equip with them with new gear than us. Oh, Bruce is on his brick. I think we'll probably. Did you have anything else, Louis, before we go?
The news about the brother of Mr. Taylor from the FAA issue a few months back, that he reverted, basically reverted the decision of the registration of FAA. Now that the registration of the FAA came about, his brother, Mr. Taylor, is suing the FAA again. Nice going. That's a ping pong game that is being played.
Yeah. Gosh, the commenting system on this is rubbish, isn't it? I can only put them in timeout. Whenever he pops back, that's the worst I can do. I can report him and put him in timeout, and that's it. Mad. Come on, YouTube. Someone at YouTube here. Sort this out. Sorry, dear viewers. Dear gentle viewers. Everyone that views this is a dear gentle viewer and not into this sort of thing. Anyway, with that, I think, and it looks like no, Louis is still there. Did you have anything else you wanted to add, Tom? And Tom, thank you very much for your time as well.
No problem. Thanks for having me on, really. Yeah, I don't really have anything to add.
All right. Well, everyone must keep what.
Actually, what's Ron's videos? He needs his minutes up.
Yeah, exactly. So I've linked to your chat down in the bottom there, Tom, and Ron. We've all got to click. You've all got to have watch 1 minute to get Ron's minutes up. At least one of his. We'll say goodbye to Bruce in absence. Louis, thanks very much. Tom, thanks, very much. Derek. Dear viewer, wherever you are in the world, thank you very much. And don't forget to join us again at 2100 GMT next Tuesday. If you've got any anything you'd like us to comment on, or anybody you'd like us to ask on, then email me away, Gary@susnews.com, and I look forward to seeing you all again next week. Cheers all. Bye-bye.
Bye.